In this video, I'm going to help you understand what to look for in a Riven for your favorite weapon. What's good, folks? It's Warframe here with a new Warframe video coming at you with a Riven Roll guide. I did release a Riven guide back in the days. It's still relevant till today. I think missing only one farming method, but you guys have brains to figure it out, right? Before I start the video, I want you to comment down below what your best God Roll Riven is. Flex it in the comments. I want to see what you're working with. As you can see, it's still bright and sunny. Yes, imagine waking up really early in the morning just to record a video, right? Just for you guys. Anyway, to first understand a Riven Roll, you have to understand your weapon. Weapons come in different shapes and sizes. For example, like the Babonico here. It has two firing modes. Its primary fire deals IPS and has innate toxin. So meaning if you mod it with one element, for example, electric, you're going to get corrosive on the primary fire. However, the alternate fire has viral. And if you mod it without electric, you're going to get viral electrics. So you're inherently getting a lot more procs to help influence the damage of a galvanized savvy mod, because this is pretty much like condition overload. Unique status effects will increase the damage of the weapon. The corrosive build right here, as you can see, just has one electric mod. The alternate fire will deal viral and electric, and the primary is corrosive because it will combine with the innate toxin. This means that we can have a unique build with just one elemental mod, giving us a free slot. Now that we have the Babonico build sorted, let's take a look at how it works. So we alternate fire. We get viral electric procs. That will boost our condition overload damage, right? You get that kill, we get that additional damage. We get another kill, we get more damage. And primary deadhead is popping off. As you can see, we're getting non-stop yellow and a random orange. That means our crit chance is really high and we're popping off when it comes to the consistent DPS right here. Looking at the build again, we have our base damage coming from primary deadhead, additional damage with galvanized savvy. We have our crit chance, crit damage, multi-shot. This is 110 multi-shot at base without getting the kill, so that's 14.7 pellets. This is a pellet-based weapon, shotgun. We have our faction mod that's multiplying all of our damage. Again, our elemental damage mod, which will form corrosive and viral and electric. And then we have two flex slots. Shotgun barrage, which gives us fire rate, and laser sight to give us that crit chance while aiming when you get a headshot, which synergize very well with this particular build. What are some key points to look at right now? Key point number one, we're getting very decent crit chance without laser sight already. When we get that laser sight gaming, we're getting consistent crits. So now that makes you think, okay, now if I can get a Riven, gives me crit chance, I can get that high, which is a good thought, yes. Because if you're critting 100% of the time, your crit damage is multiplying your damage all the time. Because crit damage multiplies the damage you will do if you crit. If you don't crit, the crit damage isn't doing anything. Hope you understand that. Shotgun barrage is a good tool to have. Can be replaced with arcane tempo, and laser sight can be replaced with arcane avenger, which gives you flat 45%, which will take it way over 100%. So now you're thinking to yourself, okay, there are two slots here I can replace, or I can keep one and add on to it to give me more consistency. Because what a Riven does, it either replaces a mod or adds on to the builds, either add on or replace while giving more stats. So we have two flex slots here. Now we can get a Riven that gives us fire rates and crit damage, which is very damn good. So now that will give us even more damage. Or we can get a Riven that gives us crit chance and multi-shot with a negative, or crit damage multi-shot. You can either go with crit damage and crit chance with a negative. That's necessarily not always the good thing to go, but in this case, we can do that. Now, since this is a pellet-based weapon, meaning we're gonna get a lot of pellets and DPS out there. As you saw earlier, we were one-shotting with one single shot. We have a lot of pellets. So multi-shot is good to think about, but then here, since this is a pellet-based weapon, more multi-shot is good, but what if we wanna diversify this build a bit more? But before going for a Riven, we also have to factor in a few things. I just gave you examples of a 2 positive with a negative Riven choice. Why did I do for 2 positives? Because of the Riven Disposition. Riven Disposition, as you see right there, determines how much of the stats you're going to be getting from a Riven roll. On top of the Riven Disposition, you also have Riven Grades. Riven Grades determines how strong those stats will be depending on your Riven Disposition. So this is how Rivens can get complicated and why certain Rivens can be way overpriced just because it has certain stats. And those certain stats are actually because they are of S grade, A grade tier. Now, with that in mind, we're going to a website to see the range of our positive attributes that we can get with this Riven Disposition. Let's go to the Semlar website. So I've opened up Semlar right here. We can see the Riven calculator, and Bobonico has a 0.70 Riven Disposition because those dots don't tell you the exact disposition, but here we got the Riven Disposition going. Now, with a 2 buffs, that means 2 positives. With a curse, you have to have a negative because a negative greatly increases the positives. Okay, we see our range right here. Multi-shot goes from 93 to 114, which is damn good. A great boost in pellet count. With this, we get 2 additional pellets. All right, but then we look at the fire rate. It goes from 70 to 85%. Shotgun barrage is 95%. It's something we can replace because 85.8, this is the highest grade that you can get, which is really close. Now you have to roll into this. It's not guaranteed you're going to get 85% because you're going to go from 70 to 80. You can get unlucky and you can get a 75, but it's still fine. Decent enough fire rate. And then we have a look at the crit chance and crit damage. Not that high. The crit chance doesn't give you as much crit chance as laser sight. Now you may be thinking, oh, should I keep laser sight? It's fine. You can actually replace laser sight. So if we're critting 100% of the time, that's very good. Oh, then I can go for a crit chance, crit damage. That'll be very strong for Bobonico. Absolutely right. Adding more crit chance and more crit damage will increase Bobonico's damage. You can completely replace the 2 mods on the Bobonico with a crit chance and fire rate mod. Let's not forget we also have shrapnel shot, which increases our crit damage, but this is only on kill. So all you have to do is kill an enemy, aim down sights, and you have 99% crit damage. It gives you a lot of flexibility right here. You can have both of these together. This will emulate a crit chance, crit damage combo, and we can put tempo right here, which gives us 90% fire rate. Let's see how much more damage we're dealing here. So we prime them, get a kill. Look at that. That's quite powerful. We're critting 100% of the time, and we're just one-shotting everything. Is it needed? Is this much power needed? Well, in most cases, yeah, because more power is just looks better, feels better. So these are a few ways to look at your Riven rolls. And then you may be asking, hey, what if I have a base damage mod on my Riven? You never want to go for base damage mod on gun Rivens. Why? Because you have base damage Arcanes. This right here gives you 360, all the base damage Arcanes right here give you 365%, which will be way more than what you will be getting on a Riven, especially with this Riven Disposition. So you don't want base damage on your Rivens 90% of the time. Yes, there are those few cases where you need base damage on your Riven. And here we're talking about gun Rivens, not melee just yet. Let's take a look at another weapon, for example. Let's go with the Zenith. Everybody's been asking, why do you run Zenith with Eidolons nowadays? What's so good about the Zenith that you're running it in Eidolon hunts? Why has it become more meta in the Eidolon hunts than a Rubico? I have to tell you one thing. There's a disclaimer. If you do not have a specific Riven for the Zenith, do not use it in Eidolon hunts. The reason people are using it in Eidolon hunts is because of the Riven Roll. So the main thing that we're using Zenith for is, of course, the punch through, which helps us a lot during the Eidolon far spawn water limb. Water limb means the limb that we shoot when the Eidolon is still coming out of the water. And that's thanks to its alternate fire. Its alternate fire will give us that punch through, that insane amount of punch through, right? But it also increases our crit chance. So with that one crit chance mod, I'm already over 100%. So if I'm critting 100% of the time, what would be a good addition? Well, to get a Riven that multiplies the damage I deal when I crit. So I went with a crit damage and multi-shot Riven. Negative status chance does not matter because we're hunting Eidolons. They're not affected by status chance. That makes this a free negative. Now this build may be different from a lot of the builds that you see doing Star Chart or even Steel Path missions because we're running a lot of base damage and even an Arcane on top of that. And I'm not using the Galvanize mods at all because taking down the Eidolon Synovias, aka limbs, did not stack Galvanize customized mods. So here we have the Amalgam Serration for the sprint speed, Split Chamber for the multi-shot, Heavy Caliber for even more base damage, Vital Sense for the crit damage, Critical Delay crit chance, and of course the Riven giving you that crit damage. On the alternate fire, I have 9.7 crit damage multiplier, and not to mention I have 3 pellets. This is going to be a last example with guns before I move over to melee. Now we have 2 cases here of the Phantasma and the Phantasma Prime. Phantasma being a very powerful beam weapon and having a better Riven disposition than the Phantasma Prime. Phantasma Prime has a bit more crit chance, so you can build it for crits a lot more efficiently than the regular Phantasma. The reason I have these 2 is because Phantasma I build it for crits and I don't run a Riven. The Riven disposition is not that great. And the regular one is pure DOT build. So let's take a look at the pure DOT Phantasma loadout. I do have a Riven. Yes, it has base damage. I've had this Riven before damage Arcanes. So I would definitely not go with base damage there. I would go for something completely different. What do I suggest? Fire rate. You can either go with fire rate, multi-shot, and heat, or just go with a double positive multi-shot and heat, which is going to be way stronger, or a multi-shot and fire rate, and you can just add the heat elemental mod. But however, if you're going with a double positive and you're going with heat and multi-shot, the heat is going to be way stronger than that incendiary code. This Phantasma build right here is focused on viral and heat. The viral damage doesn't matter. It's all about the heat damage. The viral is just here to proc because at 10 stacks, that's it. Viral has already got its debuff going. We just want the viral there to proc, so our damage will all come from heat. Same thing with viral electric. Same concept goes. Build up your viral just so we can get the electric going. In this case, this is the role you want to go for. Multi-shot electric. The grades are not that great, but it's still a decent Riven. Negative slash, very good because this weapon does not have slash. It is a free negative. Adding physical damage types to weapon that don't have the physical damage types will not do anything. So this is a free negative right here, along with this weapon recoil. So this thing is gonna shred. As you can see, this is a disgusting weapon. So yeah, so that's how a viral heat Phantasma works. Moving on to melee weapons. Let's go with a Nakana right here just to demonstrate. Now the Nakana Prime is one of the best melee weapons out there because it has amazing balanced stats. You got that 1 attack speed gaming. Okay, this is a basic build right here. I'm gonna remove all. We don't want to see this. These are base stats. 28% crit chance, 2.4 crit multiplier, 20% status chance, heavy in slash. This is already a goated melee. However, the Riven disposition is not that great. So when people usually ask, hey, what about this Nakana Riven? I say don't really go for Nakana Rivens because the disposition is just way too low and the Nakana is already shredding Rivenless. So if you were attempt to go for a Nakana Riven, absolutely go with 2 positives, 1 negative. Looking at the positives that we're getting, we're seeing that in the attack speed department, you do see it goes from 36 all the way up to 44%. This is the best stat grade that you're gonna get. Is it worth it? Sometimes. Is it more than enough to replace your attack speed mod? Absolutely not. Let's go for the crit department. Right here, as you can see, the crit damage is not even close to Organ Shatter. You don't need any more crit chance either because Blood Rush takes it over 100%. You're gonna get way more crit chance than this. So what would be the ideal Riven roll? Well, a slash Nakana build does have a free slot. This free slot can be whatever you want. So I would suggest going for a crit damage Riven because you're already going over 100% crit chance with Blood Rush alone. So crit damage or range. An additional 1 meter range is insane. 1.3 meter, it's fine. 1.6 doesn't make a difference. As long as you got that range in there, that's an additional thing to have. Crit damage and range with the negative will be the ideal Nakana Riven. Because if we were to build this out right now, you got your Conditioner Overload for that base damage build up, Blood Rush, any attack speed mod you want, Berserker Fury if you're doing survival, this is goated. If you're doing anything else, Prime Fury. If you don't have Prime Fury, Quickening very easily. So let's put Berserker Fury right there. And then we have Organ Shatter. This is our crit damage mod. And then we're gonna put in our our faction damage. We're fighting against Corrupted. Screw those guys. Then we have Prime Reach. Okay. And then finally, we're going to put Weeping Wounds to get us over 100% status chance. We have that free slot right here. What can that free slot be? Usually I would go for Gladiator Might. That's 60% crit damage. It's a bit more crit damage right there. 6 multiplier. So if you do get that Riven, that gives you crit damage, which can go up from 60, which is Gladiator Might, all the way up to 73% crit damage, and range, that's the best roll that you can go for that weapon. The reason you want range on a melee is because you're gonna hit more targets with one swing, and you're going to kill the enemy before they even get to you. Right there, I just hit 4 enemies in this point. There, we're building combo way faster because we're hitting more than one enemy, and when you prime them, that's just easy kills right there. What if you're taking Nikana Prime into a disruption run? Disruption is where you're focusing one priority target where range isn't that important because you're going to be up close and personal. Then you can actually drop range. You can go for as much crit damage, crit chance as you want to increase your damage output and focus on important multipliers. But if you're doing survival or any other content, if you don't have range, you're not hitting as many targets and you're basically being slow with a melee for no reason. So you got to know when to use and not to use range. The reason why we don't equip range there, of course, to add in more multipliers, and that's to do with the follow-through stat. Okay, one more when it comes to melees, and that's Glaives, which is a thrown projectile weapon. Just like Contagion, you're not going to be worrying too much when it comes to the range stat, meaning this is not a combo melee. You're just throwing it, having detonate, deal crazy amounts of damage. So we're looking at a typical Glaive build. You got your base damage, crit chance, crit damage, and wind-up speed, more damage and wind-up speed. Your initial combo is to give you combo right off the start. The reason why combo is important because heavy attacks also scale off combo multipliers. And here, volatile quick return for that explosion. You know the drill. You throw it, alternate fire to detonate, and it's just a lot of damage, killing enemies like crazy. That's it. You prime them, you get that viral proc going, and your viral is going to be doing even more damage because it force procs those slash procs, bleeding the enemy, and bleed goes straight to the armor and dealing health damage, and viral multiplies damage done to the health. Simple combo with any slash loadout. Now, what's a great Riven to have on this? Usually I'll go with base damage and crit damage because then you can replace this mod. And you can also go with initial combo with the damage, crit damage, all that jazz. However, just like any weapon with Riven Disposition, I would say do not go for 3 positives because this weapon is quite popular and the Riven Disposition will keep on going lower and lower. So if you're going for a Riven for this build, go for 2 positives. You can go with initial combo and crit damage, which would be a nice combo indeed. Let's go check out Semlar. With 2 buffs here, initial combo can go from 20 to 26. If you go with 3 buffs, that initial combo is going down to 20. That's at its best grade. You're not going to see a significant increase with 16 if you get a low stat roll. So we keep it at 2 buffs. With crit damage, we're getting a significant amount. That's pretty much an organ shatter right there if we get it that high. 80% at its lowest, still good. Melee damage 146 to 179, still good. Range does not matter on Glaives because you're throwing it, exploding, that's it. Attack speed, don't even worry about it. Finisher damage, don't even worry about it. And you don't mod it for elements. You don't mod Glaive for elements. Pure slash because you're throwing it, detonating, it's bleeding enemies. You don't need any elements on it. Crit damage, initial combo with a negative, or you can go with crit chance, crit damage, or you can go with melee damage, crit damage, and melee damage initial combo. Up to you with a negative. Remember the negative. If you don't have a negative, the Riven isn't that great. Don't even think about keeping it. Keep on rolling. The only time where the negative won't affect you as much is because your weapon has a very high disposition and you're using it as a stat stick. Stat sticks. Here's another one that people usually want to ask, like, oh snap, what's the best stat stick Riven for Korra, for Gara, for Atlas? Well, I'll tell you one thing. For Korra, so here I have my regular Cronin because the regular Cronin has higher Riven disposition. Any melee weapon can be used as a stat stick unless it's a combo pausing melee melee weapon like the Tenant weapons or Zorus. You don't want to use those. But anything else can work because it's not the weapon stats, it's the mods that you put on the weapon that defines its stat stick in the name. It's in the name. In this particular build, it's a slash build. Don't look at these stats right here. These stats do not matter. Only the mods matter. Stance doesn't matter. You're not using the weapon. I have Prime Pressure Point for more base damage, Blood Rush to build up the crit chance, Organ Shatter and Glider Might for even more crit damage. Here, Reaping Wounds because we're focusing on the bleeds. We're slashing enemies, and we have Buzzkill and Carnus Mandible. Now, what would be the best ideal Riven in this case? The best ideal Riven for this particular build will be crit damage, base damage, and even more slash with a negative. Or you can go with, for a very neutral build, you can go with 2 positives. Why the 2 positives with this high Riven disposition is because to make those 2 positives as strong as possible. So you can go with crit damage and base damage with a negative, making it crazy absurdly strong. But I do have a universal Riven that will work for pretty much all of my builds, which is the crit chance, crit damage, and base damage. A negative finisher, free negative. It does not affect Korra's Whipclaw. We whip enemies, you can see slash procs taking, bleeding them. We're building up our combo. The more you build up combo, the more Reaping Wounds is going to help because more combo buildup will give you a damage multiplier. 3.75 times damage multiplier on all of those pseudo-exalted weapon builds, even exalted weapon builds. So that's why combo is quite important. So you can forcefully proc those bleeds right there. Look at that, look at that. Bleeding enemies. You can prime them. Look at that. This is a bleed Korra build. One of the strongest, highest scaling Korra loadouts for her whip claws. For regular content, you can go with corrosive, gas, or even toxin. It is up to you, whichever one you want. Gara is quite unique because she has nothing to do with crits. Best rolls for Gara, I would say, is base damage, elements, and even physical damage with a negative. Or you can go with initial combo base damage on Gara. Up to you, if you don't want to be bothering to build up combo. Alright folks, that has been it from this Riven Roll guide. Hopefully I helped you understand a little bit more on what to look for. I can't cover everything, nor can I give you the best end-all be-all rolls for everything. I just want you to remember, Rivens are RNG. You're never gonna get what you want right off the bat unless you're super lucky. So you can keep on grinding your Kuva, rolling that one Riven and still not getting anything. I understand that feeling, no worries. Or you can just go out there, farm a bunch of plant, and just buy the Riven you want, which I've done for several other weapons. So, if you've enjoyed this video and learned something, please feel free to leave a like, share, and subscribe for more Warframe content, streams, and so much more. Do refer to the description. Thanks for watching, and as always, a peace.